2025 really started off the year with a bang for me. A bang brave bang bravern, to be exact. This is a relatively recent 12-episode anime show that ran from January 11th, 2024 to March 28th, 2024. I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting going into this one, but Cygames delivered a very hilarious super robot parody military bromance. Now, typically I'm not really into comedy myself, but this show had me laughing out loud, whether it was the military waterboarding a sentient robot or Bravern himself using his free time to 3D print model kits on sprues of himself. In terms of show watching, I finished taking that big leap into Gundam Universal Century content and finished out the original 0079 series run this year too. Previous to this, my experience with Gundam was pretty much only through a failed attempt at watching Wing years back. I was initially intimidated to get into the extensive Universal Century timeline at first and figured going with an alternative show would be a better introduction. That was a mistake. I went with Wing since it was popular in my country, the United States, when I was a kid. I couldn't make it through though. Overall it felt pretty messy and it really kind of turned me off from Gundam shows completely until I decided to give it another go with the original 0079. And boy am I glad that I did. I'm definitely a fan now. I think I really seem to like the old production values, being able to see the specks of lint in the old translucent animation cells. There's random camera shots where the animation looks wonky and wrong and imperfect, and it feels so human next to the sleek and mechanically flawless production quality of everything today, and I really like that. But that's not all. I really also dig the grounded retrofuturism that seems to be present in the old Gundam. The historical parallels, the character progressions, really amazing show. Currently I'm about midway through Zeta at the moment and I'm loving it even more. It feels like 0079, but more in every way, and that gets me excited every time I have the opportunity to tune in, which is not really as often as I'd like. I'm a notoriously slow show watcher. After finishing out 0079, I did manage to binge watch the two fan favorite OVAs, 8th MS Team and War in the Pocket. War in the Pocket being 6 episodes centered around a young boy living on a neutral space colony, Side 6, whose name is Al, and how he manages to get wrapped up in an espionage mission via a friendship with a young Xeon mobile suit pilot named Bernie. This one's pretty short, but really pulls on the heartstrings and showcases a less military-centric side of the Gundam universe than I had seen before. Amazing show. As far as 8th MS Team, it was pretty good too. The culminating goof fight with Norris was pretty cool. More or less the story centers around jungle guerrilla combat during the One-Year War as shown on Earth, with an overarching plot to that of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I did find this one to be a bit more, how do I put it, modern anime-y or anime tropey, if that makes sense. A bit more stereotypical to what I would expect out of the medium in general. And for something that didn't feel stereotypical to that, the final show I watched in 25 was The Big O. If you saw this show in passing and told me that it was one of the many Batman cartoons, there would be no doubt in my mind that you were telling the truth. Essentially, it's a sort of mech noir detective show set in a muted color palette city where everyone has collectively lost their memories in some sort of near-apocalyptic incident, and each episode ends with a robot named the Big O defeating some sort of eldritch beast. Truth be told, I only watched the first season, so my opinion should probably be taken with a grain of salt until I complete the whole thing. If I understand correctly, the show did poorly in its home country of Japan before being tuned into American syndication via Cartoon Network, in which case it got picked up for a second season that came out a couple years later. Now, I've heard the second season picks up a bit and maybe produces what I feel is missing in the first, that being a larger overarching plot, The first season to me felt predominantly meandering and slow pace with a sort of loose ends Monster of the Week style episodic layout. There's something to be said about keeping the mysterious paranormal vibe around, but ultimately this one didn't keep me very captivated. Hopefully I'll return to the second season of it this upcoming year to see how it progresses. First mech game of the year was Beast Bio-Exo Arena Suit Teams. I initially saw a self-promotion post about its port onto the Nintendo Switch and decided to pick it up as it seemed like a fun little arena shooter with a neat quirk of additional mech combat, like Titanfall 2, but very simplified. Maybe, being a port of a mobile game, too simplified. I did get some playtime out of this one, but overall my experience was hindered by performance problems and noticeable balance issues, which are incredibly important since the game is a 3v3 online competitive experience predominantly. Second up was another miss for me, being Steel Salvo. Great looking game, but it turns out this was really just a student project with a gameplay length of only a few minutes without replayability. It's really more of a proof of concept than anything else. Really my biggest issue being that it's being presented as a more full experience, I guess, and that's kind of a shame because even that it's small, playtime, people seem to enjoy it, and it's not looking like there will be any sort of further build on it in the future. My most played game of the year was definitely Mecha. I'm not good at RTS games. I never played auto battlers before, but this one really sucked me in. I love the turn-to-turn building upon the applicability of my tactical alignment and the head rush I felt when my units swept the board of my enemy. Great game, and definitely one I periodically return to. Conversely, the worst mecha game I reviewed this year would be Cosmic Break. The reason why, I could not get the game to even start past its launcher. In retrospect, maybe it came across as too snobby or snarky to post a quote-unquote review for a game, but I really think it ought to be brought to somebody's attention at least that the game has problems even starting up. I can't even actually play it. I've heard this has been an outstanding issue. Honestly, I was hoping that if I posted my video, maybe I'd get lucky and a helpful comment would be able to get the game up and running, but so far it's just a comment section of angry remarks. If you've kept up with me for a bit, you might have seen my video last fall about purchasing an original Xbox console. I got this solely to re-experience the Mech Assault games from my childhood, as these titles were my first ever games with giant robots. We crushed the first Mech Assault almost immediately after collecting the console and are of course looking forward to its sequel. Overall, the game was still pretty fun, even over 20 years after it first came out. I'd really like for them to bring these back. I feel like they hit a slightly different audience than the standard Mech Warrior games that have persisted. My first ever viewer request video happened this year too. Vindictive Drive 2 MadeBot Archive popped out in early November. I was really skeptical of this one at first. The game, not only very indie, seems to hit on a part of the mech market that I'm not really the target audience for, but I decided to give it a go regardless and was pleasantly surprised. Really one of those sorts of things you gotta play for yourself to see fully opened up. Not only that, but I was surprised by the community support of me after I posted the review video. Thanks, MadeBot fans! Zol Space Mech Wars might be my favorite mech game of the year. It's a relatively short and indie first-person shooter, but the easiest way to explain it is that it's a simulation of a Xeon grunt suit in space during the One-Year War, but at home. Being a small project, it did have some noticeable unpolished bits. There seems to be a lot of complaint about its use of AI for the voices, however, that is known to be being replaced, and when that update does go live, I'll definitely be playing through the game a second time. Final game I reviewed in 25 was Chaos Sector. This one is another good ol' indie. the start of the series even, and I hope to be covering all of them in full. It was a pretty short and simple sort of turn-based strategy game. It hit really well on the retro styling for nostalgia points and had passable gameplay, if not maybe oversimplified. As a first entry, my assumption is the sequel games get more fully realized, and I'm very excited to play them, considering I liked the first one. This pile of shame actually started in 24, and that would be my Master Grade 3.0 RX 782 Gundam plastic model kit. I even went out of my way to get the LED upgrade so his eyeballs would glow. I'm close to getting this one all the way put together, but then I still need to go through and panel line the whole thing, and oh boy, maybe we'll have time for that on Christmas. It's actually been a really fun kit to work on, but much like watching shows, I'm a slow builder as well. Part of me being a slow builder is because it's turned into a bit of family time for me at this point. My daughter wanted to build stuff too, but isn't really interested in big robots, so sometimes she picks up some of the kits of the female Gundam characters or the 30-minute Sisters line, etc., and we build together. Now she still needs a lot of help a lot of the time, which makes it difficult for me to get a good chunk of a master grade done with, having to put down the pieces so often to help with another build, which leads me to purchasing simpler kits for myself for the tandem build times, like the high-grade Bear Guy Ohana and Alohoro set. Alohoro is a classic, gotta love him. I'm really not sure what the heck the bears have to do in Gundam yet, but the set was pretty cute, and now it's not just a piece of decoration to sit on my desk, but a reminder of the experience of the family bonding time, and that's probably about too much personal information for me to be throwing in a video like this. Final build of the year was my first venture into the Super Deformed or SD range of gunpla kits with what I think was the SDW Heroes Night Strike Gundam. I threw away the box. Could be a different one, I don't know, that's what it looks like to me. I actually wanted the one that was a bit more grounded and knightly looking, but my local shop didn't have it when I went, and this was the closest match. SD builds are okay, I guess. I really didn't anticipate how many stickers would be on this thing. So many stickers. I learned that I'm not a fan of stickers. And that's my yearly recap. Thanks for tuning into the video. Thanks for the subscribers, donators, commenters, and all the viewers, of course. You guys are great. You might have noticed a name change on the channel here recently. I decided to drop the Sir Armor title, as that felt a bit too medieval fantasy, and went with Empty. But I guess that was taken, so I had to put Mecha after it. My initials are in fact the letters M and T, and when you read them out, it sounds out the word empty. I thought this was a comical call sign for a mech pilot to choose, considering an empty mech doesn't have a pilot. Content plans remain the same going forward. I really just wanted to switch up the name as I'm strapping myself down into the mecha niche. Thanks for a great year. I'll see you in 2026.